All right, welcome to the track, guys, for Road Atlanta. Obviously, test drive. Come in here. You're going to pick up the Thursday session. That's static conditions. But if you want to see preview what the race was going to be, you're looking here. Forecast. No precipitation or anything. Race starts around 4:20. Temperature is going to drop off and get darker as we go. Sunset is at 8:20 for this specific day. So the race is going to go into it. It's going to start daylight. It's going to start getting darker, and it's going to end just after sunset type thing. So just be aware of that. You will be driving in the dark a little bit. Yeah, other than that, just pick a car, jump into it, and test drive from that Thursday session. So BMW M2, fastest time I did was 1:30.923. Don't forget, go to your garage, adjust your power BOP so that we are on the right power. Yeah, let's play it full speed and then we'll get into it. So there you go, 1:30.923. So let's get into it a little bit more here. So turn one, I'm going kind of where the 100 meter board is what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to open it up the corner. So I'm going to go slightly to the left here and then arc it and come towards the curb for the apex. So we'll slow it down. Here's a 100 meter board. Just shortly afterwards, my brakes are starting to apply. Going nice and wide, putting the left tires over and then starting to arc it back over. It's going to be a constant kind of pressure on the brakes. Trying not to get into the ABS while turning, and then just trail braking and just adjusting slightly, trying to get that rear end to rotate. If you get on the brakes a little bit too much, either your front start having too much temperature or your rear moves out a little bit, so you can kind of use that to your advantage. Obviously, trying to get into the power before the apex so you can get power up the hill. You just want to lightly tap the front on that curb and then not wash out too far to left on exit. I like to try to stay in the middle of the track and then come right back around to the right so that it opens up turn 2, 3 for me. So I'll come all the way to the right here and then start. It's blind corner, so you really want to do practice with this one is you're just kind of turning into the openness between the trees type thing. The curb is kind of over here-ish, and what you want to do is as the curb starts, you kind of want to start getting over top of it and start braking before. So I'm getting off the throttle as I'm coming up over the hill because the BMW's front end just wants to kind of understeer all the time. So I'm getting off the throttle as I'm coming up the hill so that the weight transfer comes back to the front and gives the front end a little bit more grip for over this crest. Getting on the brakes before the curb, and I'm aiming my car to kind of come over the curb here, and then I'm going to turn right over the next one. So nothing too aggressive on the brakes. Down third gear. As the curb ends, I'm getting off of it, and I'm starting to turn, trying to jump this curb a little bit. There is a corner cut here, a 1X if you cut too much, but that was perfectly fine. And if you cut too early, there's also the 1x. So you kind of don't want to cut it too early or too much. But this is kind of where the limit was. And that'll push you all the way over to the left here. Come up over the curb, or just beside the curb. I like coming up on over the curb for some reason. Most cars is pretty good. The BMW, it's slightly sketchy, so you're off and on throttle. You're really trying to keep that throttle control strong. You don't want to wash out too wide because you immediately want to, you're coming to the left here and you immediately want to go right, especially with this car because you don't have the grip, so you're going to have to do a lot of throttle control through this section. You can see here I'm full throttle at the moment, but then I turn right and start lifting immediately. Keeping some throttle on. I want to get that front nose over this curb here. Missed it just slightly, but ideally I'd like to go a little bit further. That way it lets me slide over to the left and onto this curb without too much trouble. Here I kind of went a little bit too fast into that corner. This corner is pretty important. Hard to do as well. You got two options. You can do it in third gear or fourth gear. I tried both. Third gear is awkward when you get on the exit. You kind of have to shift up and jump on the curbs at the same time. So it can do some weird things with the car. Fourth seemed pretty good overall. You kind of keep that. You're just gonna have to be a little bit more aggressive with the brakes is all, because you got to slow the car down without the engine compression of going out of third. So I am braking before I get onto this curb, using all the way up to the curb to try to open up the corner as much as possible. Off the curb, off the brakes, and then back on the throttle as soon as the car is settled. Up on the curb on this one, and I am just steering for the life of me, monitoring my throttle all the way out over the curb, a little bit into the dirt, into this patch of pavement over here. As long as you don't go over this dirt grass here, you're good. That's pretty much right on the limit. Next corner, pretty easy. The 200 marker, there's a white line. I'm pretty much just at that. With Road Atlanta, this is one of these corners where you can push the entry a lot harder than you would on normal corners, because there's really no straight after this specific corner. The straight is on the second corner. So you got a couple ways of doing corners. Normally you want to do like a slow entry, fast out. But on this specific corner, you can go with super fast entry, slow out. You have more time to gain on entry than you do on the exit. So here's the 200 board. Just before, pretty aggressive on the brakes, down to third gear. I want to use the camber of the corner here. I want to get right up to this curb and then right back on power. Just slipping and sliding this car all the way out to the exit curb. Once there's no real brake marker here, so what I typically do is as soon as my car kind of slides onto this exit curb, that's kind of what my brake marker is. So I'll get on the brakes pretty much as I get on the curb, using this full curb to open up the next corner here. I don't want to get too aggressive on the brakes. I don't want to get in the ABS with this car. As the curb ends, I'm starting to get onto the other side of the track, getting on power really early, trying to turn this car around. I just want to kiss these curbs. So you can see here, lift up, and then I am just going to monitor this throttle, trying to partial throttle to get me as much momentum as possible out of this corner, because you want to carry as much speed down the straightaway as possible, and that'll carry me all the way to the exit of the track. But I want to stay on these curbs before the dirt, and then I come back on the pavement before the dirt. Straightaway is simple. In quali, you just want to make it as straight as possible, so as you come over the edge, you're going to start drifting over to the right. Hairpin or chicane, there's a 200 meter board, there's a 100 meter board. I'm going somewhere in between, so about the 150. So you're going to see here, about 150-ish. I'm starting to get off the throttle onto the brakes. Pretty aggressive at first. As I get closer to the curb, I'm going to start easing off that brake pressure a little bit. Get that front end to turn in. There is definitely a corner 1X cut here. You can see there's a different kind of material or a graphic to this curb. There's the curb, and then there's a flat portion of dirt grass, and then there's a textured portion of grass. The 1x is if you cut too much of this and you get into textured grass, you'll get that 1x. And what I like to do with this one is try to apex late for this corner so that you open up the next corner as much as possible. So I'll come out of it, monitor my throttle, and then turn in right, off the throttle to get that front end to bite, and then back on throttle, and I'm just kind of monitoring that throttle, just partial. Once I know I can make the corner, I'll get full throttle all the way out to the curb, over the crest, down the other side of the mountain, all the way out to the curb. And I'm going to lift slightly near the curb here, just to try to get that front end to bite down. I'll jump up and get back on throttle, try to get a maximum lap time as I can. And that is the 130.923.